What's up guys, Sinapse here, and I want to get into the benefits and the problems of dating multiple women. Alright, now there's a bunch, obviously on both sides, but you might be thinking, well, surely it's all good, you dating multiple women sounds like the dream. But, there's some issues, there's some difficulties, and I'm going to go about some ways that you might get caught or busted or end up in kind of a sticky situation that you'd rather just avoid, right? And we're going to go over stuff like how you should have your place, right? What to do with things, girls when they try to leave things in your house, what to do with, just actually meeting those other multiple girls, how to deal with feelings, like should you like them, should you love them, what is the deal with dating multiple women, because really this is a side of relationships which is not entirely talked about in mainstream media these days that much, right? So the first thing to know and understand is that having a reputation is not necessarily a bad thing. And similarly, girls, they want to feel that vibe like you're not quite tameable, right? That same spark that initially attracted you, they should, somewhere in their heart, they should know that you could go out there and meet another woman, right? That sort of feeling of the untamed Mustang on the open prairie has a allure to women that is never really going to go away, right? The problem where guys go wrong in longer term relationships is essentially they become that tame, they turn into a pony, right? Well, whereas before they were a wild, Mustang roaming free, going wherever they wanted to and banging whatever they wanted to. In the end, they become a kept man, right? They become a beaten dog, where the woman is really in control of the relationship. The man, men for the most part were creatures of habit. We're happy to kind of find something good and keep doing it, but women do need that spontaneity, that excitement, so they never should feel like they fully have you under control, right? So with that said, one of the most important parts of getting into any sort of multiple long-term relationship situation with different women, or even just with one, is that she has to have a little bit of that doubt in her mind at all times that you could potentially go out and meet another girl, right? If she has none of that doubt, then the relationship's not going to be that strong. She's going to kind of push you around. She's going to start guilt tripping you to do things. She's going to really kind of manipulate the situation and ultimately lose interest. And this is why a lot of marriages get sexless or get boring and dry up, fizzle out, and people end up cheating because the man doesn't have that free spirit, that spark. He's just a tamed pony, and it's nothing. You don't want to sleep with a tamed pony, right? You want to be with that Mustang. So she should always slightly be kind of doubtful. Now, the flip side is you don't ever want to rub it in her face, right? Never ever rub things in girls' faces, especially anything related to do with promiscuity, right? The insinuation should be that you're sort of a part of a secret club of people, right? That nobody talks about, just like Fight Club, right? Nobody really talks about it, right? Or it's like money, right? People who actually have money are like, they don't really talk about it. They just wear simple clothes and go out and do what they're going to do, right? But it's the same thing with promiscuity or with dating multiple women, right? You never want to be like, well, I was with my other girlfriend, or obviously that's an extreme example, but you don't want to make it, go out of your way to leave evidence for them to find of other women, right? And this goes in a lot of directions, right? So one area, of course, is your house. If you're bringing girls to your home, which I'm assuming many of you are, there's a few things that you want to be aware of, right? So that, even though she might have some suspicions, she doesn't hopefully ever fully come up with any sort of hard evidence, right? And that's really the way it should be. She should have some sort of suspicions, but you should never be bluntly putting it in her face. And I used to do this. I used to actually be very blunt and put it in their face. And if a girl would leave something at my house, for example, I just had a bowl with all of the piercings and the rings and the underwear or whatever things girls left. I would just drop it in a bowl, and if they're like, where is it, I'd just be like, yeah, it's in the bowl, go find it, right? And they would dig through it and they'd be like, oh, and they'd instantly essentially know. They'd be like, well, this guy's seeing a lot of women, okay, right? But now I sort of, and I would think when I was just starting game and having multiple relationships, I thought that was so cool. It was such a badass for doing that. But now I just think it's kind of tacky, essentially, right? It's not very cool to just flash that kind of stuff in front of girls. So it's much better to keep that away, right? So what are some areas in which you should be a little extra vigilant or extra aware if you have a girl that's coming over multiple times that maybe is more like a girlfriend or like a regular at the very least, okay? So first of all, don't leave any obvious evidence of your trysts with other women, right? And this starts with things like condom wrappers, all right? Condom wrappers, they, when we're tearing them, essentially, a lot of guys will just tear this corner thing, and like in the heat of the moment they'll tear it all the way off and like throw it and take the condom, put it on, because they're like all getting all passionate, right? So the condom wrapper ends up in two pieces. You got the main part and then you got the little corner, right? And a lot of times when you're cleaning up afterwards, you'll find the main part again, but sometimes the little corner will like sneak into the behind your bed or wherever it might go, and you might not notice it, but guess what? Your woman will, right? So the first tip I have for you is when you're tearing a condom, when you're opening a condom, always open it and leave the corner attached. Leave it all attached together. So if you open it, 75% of the way, take the condom out and leave the wrapper all in one piece. That's going to make it easier to clean up, and it's going to get you busted less. It just, it's tacky if somebody finds a piece of a condom wrapper in your house, right? So that's the first thing. Tip number 2 is to get a lint roller. Koro. These guys are your friend. They're everywhere in Japan, and people use them all the time. But the main thing you're going to want to do is, quickly go over your bed with them, because, again, you could just have a hair of another girl in your bed, and your girlfriend finds it, and she's like, "Whose hair is this?" And you could have that whole argument, and you could, by the way, if that happens, just be like, "I don't know, I have parties, I have people over sometimes, who knows, right?" That's the other thing, is from the beginning you want to make sure you set up a precedent of being a kind of guy who has female friends over to your house, not only lovers, right? So be like sometimes to have a little small parties, small get-togethers, little nabe parties or little barbecues in my house, little cooking parties, whatever. Make it known to her somewhere early in the relationship that yes, other women who are your friends, along with other people, right, are all coming in a group to your house. And that way, if she ever finds any hair, you can just be like, "Yeah, I had a dinner party the other day. That must be what it's from," right? And again, this is not because you're hiding something from her because you don't, you're afraid of getting busted. The vibe should be like, this is more for her protection, right? She doesn't really want to know about it. She'd much rather look the other way if she can, but if something is right in front of her, she has to bring it up and start a little controversy with it. And a little bit of controversy in a relationship is good, is helpful, but too much is not that good. So the hair of women, of course, Viet Cong tripwire, as some people call it, because it will get you kind of in arguments in annoying situations that you may not want to be into. So get one of the lint rollers and do a once over on your bed if you've had a lot of girls over recently, and maybe around on your floor. But that said, don't have your place be super clean all the time, right? Not only is this just a pain in the ass because you have to clean constantly after every girl comes over, but again, it's better to have the same kind of level of slight, not dirty, not dusty, but not immaculate, right? If you make your place immaculate every single time, unless you're just that kind of person who really wants to do that because they want to do it, but it's better to have it be just normally lived in, right? So not, clean freak level cleanliness, but just lived in level, right? And that includes the aforementioned potential hair or two of a woman from, dinner parties or whatever it might be. The areas you do want to take some extra care over would be the bathroom, especially sink and shower drains, right? Because shower drains, that's where hair collects, and it's really easy, especially when the girl's all alone in the shower. If your girlfriend ends up taking a shower, you better believe girls are they're little snoops, right? So she's gonna go through that hair and find the one that isn't her color and be like, "Whose hair is this?" Or she might not even say something to you, but she'll like log it as ammunition for future reference or for some time when she needs it, because girls tuck that stuff away, right? They tuck that ammo in like their back pocket, and they're like, "I'll pull this out at a later time and shoot them in the head with it," right? So just avoid that and make sure the shower drain in particular is clean, right? And this is also just because dudes, of course, have short hair, and in addition, the sink drain as well. On top of that, trash. Now, trash, the main one, the biggest, most trickiest one is the one in the bathroom. If you have a trash can in your bathroom, this obviously, you know, if a girl sees a period, like a tampon or something, she knows it's not hers, then it's going to be really easy for her to just kind of figure that out. Now, in addition, trash can kind of get you messed up too. Not just the bathroom trash, of course, that is a big one, but your regular trash as well, wherever your trash might be collected. If you always have an empty trash can, which might be the tendency or the initial first reaction is I got to clean things up and take it out, right? Then, you know, always having a super clean trash can right when they come over. If you didn't do that before, right? If you didn't do that when you were just starting to get into the relationship, you know, women are very observant of your habits. So if you don't keep the same habits before you started dating them and while you're dating them, then they're going to be like, something is suspicious, right? Women are very good at noticing when something is different from usual, right? They're very observant. So if all of a sudden, you know, when the relationship with that one particular girl gets a little bit deeper, you start caring about her more, you start having her over regularly, and you start wanting to clean up mess from other girls, then, you know, you take out the trash every time before she comes, she's going to notice in the back of her mind, she's going to be like, you know, he didn't used to always, you know, his trash can didn't used to always be empty, but now it is every single time I come over. Why is that not a single piece of trash in there? So be aware of that, right? Make sure you're staying consistent, right? And this is why it's easier to, if you have territory, you don't want to relinquish too much territory. You don't want to relinquish too much freedom, right? Because women in a relationship, they're just like a gas. They will take as much space, as much freedom of yours as you're willing to give up, right? I even know a guy who once set up a camera in his room that, you know, was connected to some internet, upload stills every, you know, 30 minutes or something, just so his girlfriend could check and make sure there weren't any girls over, because he had been caught once or twice with other girls, so he wanted to do that as a way to get back at her. Well, obviously that is giving up a ton of your freedom, and that's ground that you're never going to go get back, basically, right? So similarly, if you start out as that wild Mustang, you have to stay that wild Mustang all the way through the relationship. And what that means is never get complacent, right? Never think that even if you really like a girl, you should still go out and do approaches, right? And do approaches not, you know, if you feel bad about it, if you really want to be loyal, that's fine. But do the approaches at the very least. You know, get to the point of number exchange, get those numbers, and then just don't follow up with them. Don't meet them, don't date them if you really don't want to, but still do the approaches, still keep the knife sharp, because there will be a day, a point at which she might get sick and tired of it, right? Very few relationships are going to last forever, right? It's really important that you keep your skills toned, and on top of that, you keep essentially your edge, your masculine edge, by continuing to approach, and that keeps you being that Mustang, which is going to make that your girlfriend more attracted to you. Other girls are going to sense that as well, and ultimately the relationship, should you want to continue it, will go a lot longer than if you turn into a kept man, you know, carrying Tupperware around and, you know, whatever it is, doing whatever she might need, right? So similarly, right, never give up the leadership of the interaction. So you always want to be deciding everything. You always want to be leading. Of course, yeah, you can go along with some things that she wants to do, but for the most part, by and large, you should be the person who's deciding everything. And this dynamic shouldn't change in the relationship. A lot of times, guys, because once again, we like comfort, whatever, we like relaxing, we like routine, we tend to relinquish power over the course of a relationship. And that's not something you should do if you're trying to continue that relationship, because once again, things get old, things get stale, things get boring, okay? And the other reason why you should do that is because the experience after a breakup is really, really different for men and women, right? Men usually have gotten very attached to that specific relationship. They've fallen into a series of patterns. Usually they stop going out, stop trying to meet new women. And, you know, whereas women are still getting hit on, right? Your girlfriend, even if she's loyal, she's still going to get talked to by a lot of guys. She might give out her number a few times, even if she doesn't meet them, which, you know, a lot of them will meet them. So even if she's not cheating, though, she is still, the second she gets back on the market, she has a long list of suitors who are immediately going to jump back onto her. So basically the day she breaks up with you or you break up with her, she can have another dude over that night, right? Whereas for guys, we tend to slack off a lot, right? Or in terms of the proactive meeting new people department, right? Guys tend to just coast, and girls are coasting too, but the difference is guys are the proactive side of things. In other words, guys have to go to girls to talk to them. Girls don't usually come to guys, especially less so in Japan. So because you have to be proactive, if you get in a relationship and both of you are inactive, the girl, as at the breakup, the same day she can have another dude, but the guy, for the most part, usually can't, right? Unless you've been still going out, unless you've still kept meeting people, kept those knife honed and sharp, right, and ready to go for both for the sake of the relationship and if the relationship fails. It's kind of like a double-edged thing, right? The sake of the relationship, because she's going to be more attracted to you if you're out there meeting other women, and if she has that sneaking suspicion in her mind that you could at any point leave for another woman, she's going to try harder, she's going to give you more head, she's going to come over and acquiesce your demands or whatever you might want. She'll buy you furniture, whatever it might be. If they feel like they have less control over you, they're going to do more to try to accommodate you. And that's the position that you really want to be in, even if you're really trying to focus on that one girl, right? So that's why I'm saying that for the sake of that relationship with that one girl, and also if that relationship is to fail, you need to continue to meet girls, all right? Finally, the question of love and falling in love. And one question that a lot of guys ask me is like, look, Sinapse, you meet a lot of women, you date a lot of women, you see a lot of them regularly. Do you ever just fall in love, or do you ever just want to give it up for one girl? And it's tricky, right? It is really tricky because obviously your feelings are involved, right? And I don't want to paint a picture of being some guy who's just like callous to the world and unable to feel anything, and that's why you're just running through girls nonstop, right? Because that's not really what it's about, although that it's very easy to fall into that, and you can see hints of that both within yourself and in other people based on how they act. But ultimately you have to remain soft in a way, right? And this is really tricky because it goes full circle. Essentially, at the beginning, you're too soft. You're way too soft, right? You're out of practice. You don't have any proactivity. You're not used to cutting remarks, or you're pretty weak to verbal, conversational kung fu that girls throw out there, and you have no real idea. You're like a newborn, essentially, when you're first coming in the game, trying to get your legs, trying to get your standing, right? But women, even just by being passive, are already pretty adept at least romantic encounters, because guys are coming up to them all the time, especially if they're attractive. So women start out with a lot of experience, even if they don't have that much, that high of a body count, right? So guys start out too soft, and then game hardens them up. It hardens them up to a point of getting callous, essentially, right? And this is going back to my my anecdote about having that bull. The bull of possessions, girls' possessions, was callous, right? It was callous, it was cocky, yeah, sure, there were girls who liked it. They liked that feeling of, it's got other girls, and they were pissed off, but they would still come see me. And so that's like one way you can run game, but to me that's very juvenile, right? And that's something you kind of want to move past, but you do need to swing that direction and essentially toughen up to the sense that no women are not angels, right? Yes, they are basically lying daily, if not hourly, to men that they're meeting, right? So there's no real need to feel like they're pure and innocent angels. Women are definitely liars. They definitely use manipulation in dating and all these kinds of things. So you have to kind of toughen up. You have to toughen up, learn to not take things so personally, learn to laugh at yourself and have a sense of humor, not take yourself so seriously, right? And be aware of all your flaws, all your weaknesses, so that you're able to anticipate them being used against you, and so that it doesn't have any effect on you, right? And cultivate that abundance so that getting rejected by one girl doesn't have a catastrophic effect on your mental state, right? So that's what I mean by hardening up, right? But at the same time, you have to be able to come back around to the softness of love, and being able to be vulnerable with somebody, to give them that power voluntarily, right? But when it comes from a place of abundance, it's completely different than the beginning. In other words, when you're too soft and when you're just beginning, right, you're falling in love with people who are nearby, who are convenient, and you're convincing yourself that you love this person. In other words, if you have, thirsty man, a dehydrated man in the desert, starving man in the desert is not picky, right? You'll drink from a muddy pool of water, right? So by the same measure, if you don't have a lot of abundance in your life, you do not really fully know what you do love, right? You don't know the type of girl that you're interested in. So you have to take that journey, harden up, learn the truth about women, learn the reality about how they're not all amazing and not all nice. There's amazing and nice and beautiful parts of women. There's also bad parts too. You have to become fully understand that, right? And don't swing all the way to the other direction and become women hating, right? Or don't, men going their own way and just sign off on women for forever, right? That's the cowardly way out, right? So the real way is to progress through the adversity, harden yourself up, but have that inner core that still is tender and has an ability to love other people. I remember one of my initial game mentors who I really respected, and he said one thing that really stuck out for a long time. And this was some guy who I'd met him, and he was a big player on this forum and everything, and he had been sleeping with tons of girls, and he said something that really stuck with me precisely because I had imagined game to be so arrogant and callous, right? And I was striving towards that in a way, right? And what he said to me was, I'm just trying to find a girl who can hurt me. Wow, right? Just think about that, right? Because yes, you do get, in a way, callous. You do get thick skin to the adversity, to the things that women might tell you, to the things that women might do. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to still be vulnerable to people, but it should be your choice, right? So when you come from a place of abundance and you pick this girl, I say, hey, I want this girl to be my girlfriend. If you're picking her out of 100 girls who want to be your girlfriend, then that means something, right? If you're picking her out of 2 girls who are, in the same cubicle or office as you, that's not really picking from, you're not really picking because you really like that person. You're picking because you're close to them, you're in proximity to them. So the whole point of game essentially is just to be free and to open up, to shed the weaknesses that we have initially with regards to women, the mental blocks, through adversity, through facing what's difficult, and coming back around, through the callous phase, the arrogant phase, and come out reborn with a more complex understanding and ability to really choose the lovers who are right for you and who you are interested in, right? So, and ultimately, it is all about you and what reality you want to create. It's freedom, right? Game is freedom. So if you want to have one girlfriend that you see and she sees you and you guys are monogamous, do that, right? If you want to have 5 girlfriends that come over and have threesomes or foursomes or whatever, do that. If you want to just have a bunch of one-night stands and never see them again, do that, sure. Do whatever makes, that you want to do, as long as it's not, forcing anybody to do anything or hurting anybody else. Just enjoy your life and create a romantic atmosphere, a romantic environment that suits your purposes, your needs. And at the beginning, try a bunch of different types of women. Try all races, all whatever ages, body types, everything you might be interested in, because you don't know. If you've slept with less than 10 girls, you might think you have an idea of, your type, but you really don't, right? You have to go out there and you have to sleep with a bunch in order to understand what you actually do like, right? Because you might be surprised. For a long time, I didn't think I liked certain types of girls, and in the end, I was like, wait, actually, these girls are really cool, right? Get into some subcultures, try new things, and see where you go from there. And ultimately, make sure you do have that ability to be purposefully vulnerable, right? As opposed to vulnerable by default, right? So, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed these random assortment of tips plus some philosophical pontificating about love. See you guys next time. Hey there, did you like the video? I hope you did, and if not, well, why'd you watch to the end? Feel free to mash some of the buttons below, or go ahead and check out the website, attractionjapan.com, or Patreon, or just shoot me an email and be like, hey man, I love getting emails from people. I love it when I hear that I've helped somebody get laid in Japan. Warms my heart. So, take it easy, have a great one.